Okay, you're all set to begin.
Okay, thank you. Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask George to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Abadili is absent tonight. Foster?
Present.
Gilmore present. Hearn?
Present.
Lee?
Present.
Sampu is absent also. Tangney?
Present.
Administrator Darcy Carley?
Present.
Staff member Kim Kavanaugh?
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. for the applications of Philip Hubbard and Joy Cleveland, Taylor Thomas, Lynn A. Vandal-Slides, Michael P. and Maria A. Salva, William and Krista Murphy, Maria G. and Peter J. Smell trustees, Vincent and J. Pella Family Trust, Yuri and Urina Maksavich, Town of Barnstable, DBW. The hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending emails requests to Darcy Curley at 230 South Street, Hyannis. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this meeting. Hearing none, this evening's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisement. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participations. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed up by the governor on March 29, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to the hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The hearing will be televised via Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. 2. Real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 893-2225-6841 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email the comments to darcy.curley@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. Please note the second amended order. The Town of Barnstable, DBW, has requested a continuance without testimony to November the 7th, 2023. Tonight we have a long agenda. Please limit your comments to our jurisdictions with the State of Wetland Protection Act and the local wetland protection ordinances and the regulations. Under the old new business, tomorrow is November, and that's why we are looking at the 2024 hearing schedule. We sent out the hearing schedule for the commissions to look at it, and thank you for George and Kim to propose this 2024 hearings agenda. Basically, we are trying to do 3 meetings on a month, and so we have like 36 hearings in 2024. Any comment from the commission on this?
I thought it looked good.
Thanks.
So did I.
Could I have a motion to approve the 2024 hearing agenda schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster?
Aye.
Tangney?
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The second item under the old new business, proposed conservation restrictions, is a commission review and the vote of whether to approve or as written or as added the following. There are 2 conservation restrictions. One is the Willow Holy Preserve Conservation Restriction for Lot 1, 178 Willow Road and part of 150 Willow Road, Barnstable, Massachusetts. Barnstable Assessors Map 82, parcel 11, and assessors map 103, parcel 109, and lot 002 portion. The second CR is the Willow Holy Preserve Conservation Restrictions, lot 3 and 4, part of 150 Willow Road, Barnstable, Massachusetts. Barnstable assessors map 103, parcel 109, lot 002 portions. Said CR to be held by the town of Barnstable. We have Janet to do us the presentations. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I also have Kelly Grant here who works with us on land conservation in case we have any detailed questions on the conservation restriction. And I'm going to just share my screen here just to remind you, we did come before the commission in July to get approval in support of a CPA funding request. And we're coming back now to ask for support for the conservation restrictions, which you have drafts of. The intent is to go to Town Council November 16th and December 7th for approval of the CPC funds, the application of, and in the actually acceptance of the state funding, which we found out in the meantime, the town, both the town and Barnstable Land Trust have been awarded state grants for this project. So just to remind you, this is a 10-acre parcel right at the top of Middle Pond, which is one of the 3 so-called Indian ponds. Middle Pond is the spawning ground for herring that comes up through the Marston's Mills River and has extremely high conservation value. I think I showed you these maps the last time, so I won't go through them again. Just to remind you, though, that it abuts our 22-acre Fuller Farm property on Route 149 in Marston's Mills, and is also very close to a really large amount of town conservation land, Danforth, the airfield, and West Barnstable Conservation Area. We are in the process of subdividing the lots, just so you know what the CRs are associated with. So one CR is associated with lot 1 over here on the left, and another CR is associated with lots 3 and 4 here on the right. And the reason for subdividing is that the state funding is not available for land that has a house on it. So the town applied for one grant for this section, and we applied for another grant for this section. And then there's a house lot in the middle. So you are reviewing the conservation restrictions both on lot 3 and 4 and lot 1. And I think I will leave it there.
Thank you, Janet. Welcome, Kelly. As far as I understand it, our town attorney, Kate, has reviewed the CR, and basically she is in agreement with that, with some edits, and I think that's changed on the version that you have seen around.
That's correct.
Question from the commissioner. None? Okay, let me try this. Could I have a motion to authorize the chair to prepare an endorsement letter to the town council president for the CR as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Tangney,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet and Kelly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have 3 RDA tonight. The first one is Philip Hubbard and Joy Cleveland. Proposed clearing and grading within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetland bound bordering on Great Pond in order to construct a new single-family home at 82 Liberty Lane, Marston's Mill, as shown on the assessors map 124, parcel 004-010. This is Raul.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Isardi from Cape and Islands Engineering. And if I could get permission, I would like to share my screen.
Yes, please.
So this project is an RDA for grading and clearing within the 100-foot buffer. The plan that was submitted was a new single-family residence. The property is approximately 76,000 square feet of land. All of it is undeveloped. All of it is wooded. The shape of the lot is like a panhandle pork shop type of property. And if I zoom into the property, it abuts Round Pond, which is a great pond, to the south shores of the pond. There is a bordering vegetated wetland along the shores of the pond. And then there's the inland bank to the pond at elevation, roughly about elevation 42. 100 feet from that inland bank is this green line that's shown on the plan. And what we convinced the applicant to develop is to keep the house and all the work outside of the 100-foot buffer. Originally, of course, they wanted to be closer to the pond, so it was within the 50 to 100 foot. But we were able to convince them to move the development completely outside of the buffer zone, except for some of the grading for the yard. So we are protecting 90 feet buffer to the inland bank, which is all of this green solid hatch on the plan. But there is about a 10-foot strip of clearing and grading in this area. That is the reason we submitted this request for determination. We believe the impacts are minor. We are still protecting 100% of the 50-foot buffer at this location and an additional 40 feet. The residence is going to be serviced by dry wells for roof runoff, and the septic system is located more than 200 feet away from that same inland bank. So the project is fairly minimum impact in the resource areas. So I will stop sharing and I'll open it for any questions.
Thank you for talking to the homeowner to locate the house further back, away outside the 100-foot buffer. Question from the commissioner. No one? Any public comment? Channel 18.
There's no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Tangney,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kern,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bro.
Good night, everyone.
Yep. The second RDA of the evening is Taylor Thomas, partial demolition of existing building and reconstruction of a small additions to existing footprint to construct a two-car garage at 521 Sioux Flying Hill Road, Centerville, as shown on the assessment map 193, parcel 49. Taylor? Taylor, do you want to unmute yourself? Oh, sorry, is Jack?
Yeah, there we are. How are you?
Good. Do you want to talk about your project or just take questions?
Yeah, I'm probably just taking questions. We get the pretty straightforward project with short description provided. I think there's as much detail that will be needed.
Okay. Question from the commissioner. See none.
Yeah,
I do have a question.
Okay, Bill.
That orange shading that's on the water, what is that? There's a big
Just,
long.
pull up the map here.
I can answer that. That is one of the types of wetlands. I think it's SS or shrub swamp. Are you
Okay.
talking about right here where?
Yeah. Well, that whole thing
Yeah.
that you're touching, that whole thing there, it's like kind of a, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, on the GIS, we have different layering for different types of wetlands. So that would be, I think the orange is shrub swamp.
So basically, the house is like 100 feet away.
Yeah. He was just the edge of this building, or this proposed project was just falling within the 100 feet.
Yeah.
So I totally support this project.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
George?
Yeah, that was my question too, was to Darcy and how she felt about this project. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with me. I wasn't sure of the scale and the work limit lines, but if those have been answered and I just wasn't aware of them, I'm fine with it too.
Okay, thanks. 10:18, any public comment on this?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck, Taylor.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yep, good night. The third RDA is Linz A. Vanderslice. Proposed improvement to include 135 square feet additions with a deck on the south side of the dwelling, a dormer and a roof deck on the north side of the proposed 20 by 20 shed at 43 Little Island Drive, Osterville, as shown on the Assessors Map 093, parcel 058-006. John?
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicant. Pull up the plan quickly for you here. That's going to be agenda. 1 second. Please set that up now. This is an acre parcel on Little Island. The resource here is flood zone, land subject to coastal storm flowage, a couple pretty minor improvements, a small addition on the south side of the building, 135 square feet with a little deck area next to it. On the second floor of the dwelling itself, a small dormer over the garage with a roof deck. Probably could have been handled administratively, but we were coming before you anyway for the addition, and a shed off of the driveway area. No vegetated wetlands anywhere near us. Pretty flat, pretty open site. I don't foresee any impacts. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Question from the commissioner. Seeing none here. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
No public comment on this item.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Hearn,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Lee,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 4 NOI tonight. The first one is Michael P. and Maria Shaver. Rents and replace existing single-family dwelling at 120 Harbor Bluff Road, Hyannis, as shown on the Assessors Map 325, parcel 102. Dan.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. For the record, Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Downkeep Engineering in Yarmouthport. I'll share my screen here to show you this fairly straightforward project. This is a small home in an area that has public sewer. So that's one of the big items on in this area. We don't have to worry about trying to squeeze in a septic and setbacks and pollution and so forth. So tearing down the existing home. There's a small isolated wetland behind us. Some of you may recall to the north, there was a somewhat larger home that was recently given permission to raise and replace. It's contiguous small IVW. That one had a fence sort of near the wetland. Some of you may recall that. But in any event, this is kind of around the corner. It's a highly developed site and lot. We're getting rid of a shed that's right against the wetland. There's a little IVW. So again, it wouldn't be a state wetland, but it would be local. But then again, we are working in the flood zone a little bit here. So taking a dwelling that nicks into the flood zone with some space below grade and picking it up, the slab is going to be elevated so that the flood zone, the slab is above the flood zone. Just a little bit of fill around the house to make it look normal. We're getting rid of the deck, which is at its close to 17.1, and we're going to be going to 22.7 in the back. And trying to compress it a little bit towards the front of the lot. We've introduced roof dry wells all the way around to take care of the roof runoff. So we'll feel that there'll be quite a lot less water shooting off or sheeting off this site post-development. The pre-development, which is one of the things you can look at in these flood zones, is runoff. So we feel it's a good site development. Will be good for the owner, good for the town. Would be glad to answer any questions you have on this one. I know you've got a long narrative, so I kept it short. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. The drawing that Dan is showing is dated October the 27th. So it's a revised plan submittal. George?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Tom. And Dan, you mentioned a small amount of fill. How small amount of fill are you talking, just so we kind of know? I mean, from past experience, we've had small amount of fills being anywhere between 50 and sometimes 200 cubic yards. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, you can see here the grades that right now the foundation is fairly high. It's 12.6. We're going up to 14.1, so it's being raised about a foot. And so we're introducing higher grades around the house. It's already, you've got a 13 contour on the north side here. We're wrapping that around the house. The most fill is probably 2 feet right under the patio, and then it slopes quickly back down to grade. So I'd have to do the arithmetic on it, but you're probably talking, 40 by 40 by 2 feet-ish for fill. So some fill, but again, it's a coastal flood zone area where, you'd be getting a gigantic storm coming in and moving out. It wouldn't be, it'll be a pin in the bathtub with respect to.
So you're probably under 100 cubic yards.
I would imagine, yeah, especially because the house is most of it.
Thank you.
Yep. Angela?
Yeah, just quick for clarification, the revised plan, I'm not sure when it came in. I got it yesterday, Monday the 30th, and the only thing was the hardscape breakdown was added, or am I missing something?
It was requested to add the demarcation, so there was a little bit of a breakdown, a little bit better breakdown on the hardscape. We broke it out between patio, pavement, and structures. And then number two, we call out these rocks. There's a few different methodology for demarcating the wetland, but it was requested that we show that. So that's the other thing we did. And I did highlight the contours so you could see those a little bit better on the proposed.
Okay,
So
thank you. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing something. Thank you.
No, nothing major, just little housekeeping items.
Right. Because we just need a little bit more breakdown in terms of the mitigation area and so forth, so calculations wise. So, Bill.
Yeah, there's no mowing going on in that mitigation area, right? You basically just planting it and letting it go?
That's correct. Yeah, we wouldn't. It would be a no touch. I guess if it was some weeds in there, with Darcy's permission, we might weed it a couple times. But that's designed to kind of take over and become a shrub standalone feature, which would not have any mowing at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? 10:18. Any public comment on this?
No public comment on this item.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date October the 27th?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Elmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tagny.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The
Thank you
second
very much.
NOI is William and Krista Murphy, proposed single-family dwelling at 104 Wild Goose Way, Centerville, as shown in the Assessors Map 167, parcel 048. Dan.
Good evening again, Chairman. For the record, Dan Ojala with Downkeep Engineering. I'll share my screen here. So this one feels like I've been working on it all my life. Here we are again. It's a and I say that, but you know, honestly, it's the gentleman is serving our country in the Navy, and he goes off and he doesn't know how long and so forth. So they've been trying to build this, but now it looks like we're finally going to have the opportunity to do it. But of course, the permit expired. So back we come. This is 104 Wild Goose Way. It's in an area of developed homes. There's a tidal water by to the east. It's separated by a robust wetland. It's completely wooded, stable slope. It's technically a state bank. It wouldn't be considered a local bank because it's protected by a hardy BVW that separates it. If you look at the definition carefully, that would hold up. And we've stayed actually out of the state bank. Even we generated a little retaining wall. Just so that we don't disturb that. The Board of Health concerns themselves with state banks, so we did get a Board of Health variance for the construction of this home, and that was extended through the middle of next summer, 23, 24. So we're hoping to get it constructed during that time frame. A couple of years ago, they were nice enough to give us a healthy extension on that. So again, it's something that you've seen before. Darcy did, I think Tom had looked it over and asked for, I did an October 27th revision for some wall notes. We put some top of wall elevations on there just to clarify. Again, it's not much. It's about 3 foot high, but the spot grades along the top of that. And then in that manner, clarified the grading in the driveway a little bit. So again, it's for Bill and Krista Murphy, longtime owners of the lot. Their parents had developed a subdivision, and it's kind of the last home in here. Fits in nicely. I noticed DP didn't have any comments. I think a pretty straightforward approval, especially seeing as we're well back from the resource areas that are of concern, which is the BVW, the bay, and the state bank, which is a technical bank and of not great concern. We're actually protecting that as well. But glad to answer any questions if you do have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Bill?
Yeah, maybe this is worth a discussion, maybe for my own edification. You said that the it's not a town bank because it's landward of a BVW that's at the bottom of the hill, and I've just been trying to understand the difference between a town bank and a state bank. And I went to chapter 705, and it says a coastal bank is defined under chapter 237 as a seaward face or elevated landform other than a coastal dune, which resides at the landward side of a coastal beach, land subject to tidal action, or other coastal wetland. And we've had other discussions. I remember John Abadili, we had quite a go at the whole idea of a bank on another project, and I'm trying to learn some of the distinctions here. Well, when it says or other coastal wetland, at the bottom of the hill is what's called Scudder Bay. It's tidal, and so if it's tidal, then it seems like it's a coastal wetland. And so when you call it a BVW, and because it's a BVW, we don't have to consider that it's a town bank. I'm like going, wait a minute, but that's a tidal. What is it? Not a coastal wetland? I'm confused. Why is there not a town bank here? Because it's a very steep bank. If other commissioners haven't been there, it's, we can see right on the plan. It's way up on a hill on what looks like, the state calls it a coastal bank. Why is there no town bank? I don't understand.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree that it's a little bit unclear, but basically the policy has been for a while now, and what you look at is if there is a freshwater wetland, like it's not a coastal bank is generally something that erodes into the ocean. It's got active wave. It can be a sediment source, and it can be protection from flooding. And then the steeper that it gets, you guys don't consider the 10% to 17% a coastal bank. Your regulation calls out a very specific grade, which is 18%. But again, the key in that is, and we went over this with Ed and Darcy to some extent, that if there is a freshwater wetland there, we feel that basically intercepts the tidal action or the mechanisms that would create it as a coastal bank, and it would be more accurately deemed only a state bank because of that clause that it has to be a coastal wetland that's closest to the adjacent to it. That's the understanding of how it's interpreted. I could see it both ways, but we figured we'd take the pass on this one. And I believe that, Darcy, that's consistent with how we've been interpreting them for some time now.
Would Darcy comment on that? I mean, I'm having a. It seems like
Dan laid it out just what we do believe that there has been times that some of the ones that have been town banks we've been looking at, and actually, it's not town bank, and it went back to. One of the ones on Eel River Road, the commission took a long time comparing what was actually written in 705, which we're quoting, but what you should look at the definition of chapter under coastal bank under chapter 237. So over reviewing those regulations, we did determine that if you had a bordering vegetated wetland strip, that we were no longer counting. That kind of took out the issue about it being adjacent to a coastal wetland, even though it's a flood zone. So we've just been reviewing them differently. Believe me, the regulation is not easy to work with. I don't like it. It's not easy because it kind of leaves it up to interpretation. So you have to rely on staff, and then we talked to Tom too on each one, and some of them are site specific. So that's all I can say.
So it is.
I just going to say, in other words, it's steep enough, but given its location relative to what is at the bottom, it doesn't qualify as a town bank. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Bill, you think?
So it can be tidal? I mean, you got a tidal, presumably estuarine. Is it not an estuarine environment? I mean, I don't know. What is a coastal wetland? I mean, you're saying it's not a coastal wetland, and yet it's a tidal Scudder Bay.
The state says yes, tidal is a coastal resource. But when we were reviewing the town regulation, we believe if you have a strip of a bordering vegetated wetland, that we would not, that would override the part about it buffering or being adjacent to a coastal wetland. Other coastal wetland being something like a salt marsh.
Right. Because the key word here is the adjacent to. Yeah.
So if there was a Spartina marsh, like a wetland, classic marsh at the bottom of a hill, that would require a town bank?
Then what we do is we look at how high does the king tide come up to, whether it would be that type of a tide coming over the Phragmites. So if the king tide made it up that far, then that could be something that we would count as being a coastal wetland. I mean, a coastal resource area.
So it doesn't matter what the vegetation is, even if it's Spartina.
Yeah, I don't think a king tide is making it up onto this bank. I mean, you can ask Dan, but
Yeah, so the difference here, I think, is it's a heavily forested, vegetated, and there's water coming out of the slope, a freshwater, an established strip of freshwater wetland upgradient of all the saltwater resource areas. And so that tips the scale. If it were a more barren site or a scarp where you have a beach, you know, or in that sort of a situation, then absolutely it would be a town bank. But here it's a forested wetland down into towards the salt marsh. There is some salt marsh out there for sure, and then tidal, but there's a nice healthy BVW freshwater wetland here, and it's full of oaks and pines. And so I think the interpretation, you know, as it's currently written, is fine with this one, that it's protected from being a state bank, I mean a local bank, by a freshwater wetland that completely separates the coastal resources from the upland.
Thank you for bearing with me. It's just this, we've not dealt with something like this before, and I'm like going, what the heck? Thank you.
It's a tricky one. And
Bill, trust me, every time we look at this, I always have to go back to read that chapter and again and look at it.
I remember Eel River Road all too well.
Yeah.
Those are tricky ones. In this case here, you know, it's right about 25%, so it's a little over 18, but it barely is the run up to the state bank, which is a few degrees steeper. So you can see on the south side, the state bank is down at the flood zone. Then all of a sudden, there's a section that just jumps over 25. It's 26%. So now it jumps up to here where it becomes a little bit less, and then it jumps up again to here where it's a little steeper. But again, down here, it's not even 25% at the flood zone. So then it jumps back down to the flood zone. So it's a discontinuous bank. It's not particularly well defined at the state level. But, you know, we teased it out carefully. And but by no means is it eroding. It's a super stable, you know, since probably the last ice age or whatever. This is just a big oak forest, and it's not going anywhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Tom. No Vista pruning in here. Are you going to come back with that, I assume?
Yeah, if they need it, we'll come back and ask once we have the house up. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Any other question from the commissioner? Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Not on this item.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangy,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Foster.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Good luck,
much for
Dan.
your time and consideration. We really appreciate it.
The third NOI of the evening is Maria G. and Peter J. Smell, trustees, to replace walkways and modify existing patio area to include a landscape wall at 339 Eel River Road, Barnstable, as shown in the Assessor's Map 115 parcel 030. Before I go to John, there is a FC3 number for this application is 6136. Then, John.
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicants. We've been before you a few times on this property. This is about an acre of land in Osterville off of Eel River Road. We are sort of right at the mouth of West Bay versus the actual Eel River. We have an existing dwelling. There's an existing patio, stone patio area and walkway. The project as proposed is to replace those walkways and modify the patio area. So the kind of primary patio area is up here adjacent to the house, and then a couple steps down to a fire pit area. All of the work, all the patio work is outside of the 50-foot buffer. It's actually a slight reduction in hardscape. We have a very natural undisturbed 50-foot buffer. Will be a little bit of yard here around the patio. This landscape wall is about 3 feet high at its highest point. I don't see it having any impact on the bank or that undisturbed buffer zone. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Oh, George.
Do I see elevations on that wall?
I think they're down on the detail
Okay, that's what I
view down
thought.
below.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. 16.5. Yep. 10:18. Any public comment on this?
None on this item.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
You.
The last NOI is Vincent and Jane Perla Family Trust to construct a pool and patio at 29 Little Island Drive, Osterville, as shown on the Assessors Map 093 parcel 058-005, and there is a SE3 number 6137 for this. John?
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. Again, bring up the plan. Another just about an acre parcel here in Osterville on Little Island. I believe immediately next to the one that we were just before you on the RDA. Project as proposed is to construct a pool and patio area. Again, we are dealing with flood zone only, no vegetated wetlands or other wetlands anywhere near us. This was a plan revision just to label. We had shown the pool equipment area and pool drawdown, but we hadn't previously labeled it. So this revision date was 10/27. Pretty straightforward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question from the commissioner. Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
None on this item.
Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date October 27th?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good luck, John.
Thank you.
We have two amended orders. The first one is Yuli and Yelena McTavish change pier support systems from helical piles to concrete blocks at 24 Flume Avenue, Marston's Mill, as shown on the Assessors Map 061, parcel 032. Arlene?
Good evening. Arlene Wilson, AM Wilson Associates here for the Mitseviches. This is, I hope, a fairly simple revision that's been developed during extensive negotiations with Chapter 91 and as a result of rather wide-ranging public comment, as I think the commission is aware, from people all around the pond and all across town. So nobody seemed to like the helical piles that we proposed initially, except Mass Natural Heritage and the contractor, who thought they'd work really well. But what we're doing is changing that system to something akin to other projects that have been approved on the pond. They'll be formed round concrete block, 12 inches deep, about half of which will be buried. The concrete block will stay in the water all the time. The legs for the pier will fit into those blocks with feet on them for stabilization. And the legs and the pier itself will come out in the off season. There's no other changes to the pier itself, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arlene. Any question from the commissioner? This is a pretty straightforward as far as changing the support system away from the helical pile. Bill?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I'm going to recuse myself only in that I was up until a couple of months ago on the Indian Pond Association board, and I recused myself when you first were permitting this dock. I'm not on the board anymore, but given that it's only been like 6 or 8 weeks, I think it's best if I recuse myself. So I'm not going to vote.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Any questions from the other commissioner? Angela.
And I wasn't here when we originally, this project came across. Are we gonna have a quorum without him voting?
That's fine, we should have enough.
We'll be fine, okay.
I'm not sure about that, Tom. Without,
If I might, this is a new application.
Yeah.
The board hasn't heard it before, so 4 is enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, I was just asking.
Yep. No, that's the amended order. It's nothing to do with the previous application. So even Bill recused himself. We still have 4 members.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any public comment on this?
Yes, Chairman Lee, we've got Butch Roberts. Butch, you can unmute. It's your turn to speak.
Hi, thank you for giving us a moment to speak. Just wanted to say that we really support this change and appreciate the concerns or appreciate that they understood our concerns regarding the dangers of using the helical piles. I do have a question for the Conservation Commission, though. What mechanisms are there to ensure that this remains a seasonal dock and that it's not simply left in the water after November 1? There appears to be several instances on Middle Pond alone in which that issue is just simply ignored.
This is permitted as a... Is this permitted as a seasonal pier?
Yes, it's intended to be a seasonal pier. So if it gets left in, the commission could cite us for a violation and fine us.
An order. Yeah.
Because we have a seasonal dock that was approved this year that is still in the water. So I'm sure it's not going to be taken out tonight before November 1st.
I understand it, but then the thing though is that, you know, we don't have enough manpower to do the enforcement stuff. When we catch up to that, we will enforcing it. So that's all I can promise.
Well, that's our concern. There's several instances of that around this lake that, and that was part of the concern here, was that this not remain a seasonal dock. And if the cost of removing that dock each season is higher than the cost of a fine, then what's the point, I guess?
Well, you know, because that will be coming back if under the enforcement order, we have to come back with the commissions. And if that becomes a permanent pier, they have to apply for it and whether we have to approve it or not. So that is still some hurdle to go through. It's not that forward that you can leave it in there as permanent.
Okay, well.
All we need is we need to have a phone call. If you ever see a dock that you believe is supposed to be seasonal, you contact conservation. Ed Hoops, our agent, would go out and look at it. An enforcement order is written. If it's not removed, they can actually get a fine, $300 every day, because each day can mean a separate fine. But we have to issue an enforcement order. If they don't, then we usually say, all right, the next one's going to be $300. And then sometimes we do it like weekly. If they still ignore, then we start going every day. So, but we need to have some eyes out there. If you see one, you got to let us know about it.
Yep.
Yes, I really don't want the Indian Ponds Association to be viewed as the enforcer around the lake. That's really wasn't our intent. And it doesn't make us very popular around the lake. But I appreciate your listening to my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we get your address, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, 102 Alpine Way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bush. Any other ones? Channel 18?
Yes, Mr. Don Webb. Don, if you still want to make some comments, now's your opportunity.
Don?
Hi, thank you for hearing me. I just had a couple of questions about the change, and it still appears that this is kind of a semi-permanent solution, that there are going to be, these pylons or what have you staying in the lake. And I've had somewhat experience of being around some of the lakes in the area, and although it was suggested that this is a common trait, being around Middle Pond and Mystic, I've not seen any other docks that are using the same sort of system. So again, I think the comment was already brought up, and the concern of it being more of a permanent solution with a temporary paper on it, as opposed to some of the aluminum docks that are fairly easily removed, where this is more of a permanent solution, it appears, on the plans that I've seen. Is there any comment, or can anybody kind of give any insight to that?
I can, Tom.
George?
Yes, yes, sir. I actually put in a couple of these in, I believe, Mystic Lake, concrete bases with posts inside them, and they were seasonal, that we put in and out every year. So it is a fairly common method to be used. And again, it is permitted as a seasonal pier. And if this isn't taken out by the 1st of November, which I believe is the date, then you should contact the conservation office and let them know, and they'll certainly take care of it.
The other thing, Sue, as Arlene was mentioning, the permanent concrete footing is around 12 inches high. Half of it is buried and only 6 inches above the bottom of the pond. So compared to the helical pile, it's much more intrusive. I mean, it's less intrusive in terms of extending out above the bottom. So. Are you all set, Don?
Yes, thank you.
Can I get your address, Don?
45 Flume Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
10:18. Any more public comment on this?
That's all for this item.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the amended order as written, as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Lee.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for the change.
Thank you.
The second amended order, Town of Barnstable, DPW, proposed update construction access and maintenance plan for the Blush Point stabilization projects at 307 and 329 Millway, Barnstable, as shown on the Assessors Map 301, parcel 064 and 009. The applicant has requested for a continuance without testimony to November the 7th. Could I have a motion to continue this amended orders to November the 7th without testimony?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. We have two continuances. The first one is Stuart R. Levy, trustee, 408 Vinyl Avenue, nominal trust, to construct a proposed pool, patio, and cabana area. Proposed renovations of an existing garage to include ground and second floor additions, breezeway connections to dwelling, and a sport court at 408 Vinyl Avenue, Osterville, as shown on the Assessors Map 140, parcel 154-002. This is a continuance from October the 17th without testimony, and the quorum is everyone. John?
Thank you. Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. I'm representing the applicants. This project, pull up a plan for you, is located at 408 Weano Avenue. We are across the street from East Bay Road and East Bay itself, pretty good distance away. About a 4-acre parcel of land, historically developed. It was redeveloped around 2014 under SC 35130. with a single family dwelling and a detached garage. Guest house, I think, had been approved on the other side of the house, but was not constructed. There's a patio area out on the rear of the dwelling that we did not do that prior project, but we're involved with making sure that it got a certificate of compliance and was brought into compliance with that order. New owners are here this evening. Project as proposed, again, is to construct a pool and patio area with the cabana. That work is located between the 50 and 100 foot buffers, mostly a little bit outside the 100 foot, but between the 50 and 100 foot buffer. Up at the other end of the property, sports court is proposed, again, kind of straddling the 100 foot buffer, partially within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. And then some renovation work at the garage with an addition, some second floor that's outside of the 100 foot buffer, but still sort of partially within jurisdiction from the flood zone and state defined coastal bank. The site has almost an entirely undisturbed 50 foot buffer. There is an existing fieldstone landscape wall kind of bordering the edge of the lawn, which nicks into the 50 foot today. We are going to remove that. Everything's getting constructed landward of it. That area will be restored. So we are left with an undisturbed 50 foot buffer. There is some demarcation generally along a little bit landward in some instances of the 50 foot buffer from the prior project. Pools specified, ozone or approved equal. We did show some equipment area and a drawdown pit. I think that I will say, and I may get shut down, we did hand in a revised plan, short notice, so I'm not sure whether you're willing to discuss it or not, but a pool fence up in this north end moved probably about 20 feet to sort of better follow the corner point of the edge of the lawn, all outside of the 50 foot buffer. And on the other end, I think it had connected to this end of the garage before, and we moved it to the other. That's, almost out of the 100 foot buffer. So if you're willing to consider those tweaks this evening, that would save us some paperwork down the road. And if not, we'll take those off and would stick with the plan that was submitted. But just wanted you to be aware of some discussions we've had with the owner since the staking for your all viewing and that they took advantage of too. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
John, do you mind to say that again in terms of the proposed change of the fence?
So again, on the north end, the plan that you had the fence kind of ending about here. And so this revision extends it up about 20 feet more. You can see the edge of the lawn is the dotted line. So just kind of bringing it more towards that corner point. You can see where the 50 foot buffer is. We're nowhere near it. We're really out in the existing lawn. And on the south side, the fence on the plans that you have came into this side of the garage, and we've moved it to the other side. And again, that's, kind of almost out of the 100 foot buffer, but still in some of your jurisdictional areas.
What is the revision date on this one?
This revision date is covered up by your faces, but I will get that to you in 1 second.
Okay. Questions from the commissioner, Bill?
Yeah, there's a lot of extra hardscape build out of the 50 to the 100. And I know that our town ordinance, basically says as long as you have not, you have an intact 0 to 50, that's about all you need to do. And I know that's what the ordinance says, but the 50 to 100 does have value. It has value for wildlife as well as, filtering pollutants and whatnot. And so I'm wondering, I'm asking whether or not you have, on this plan, on the right, in the 50 to 100 foot buffer, it says proposed lawn on the left side. See on your, John, do you see?
Yep.
You have this little, no, right? Yeah, right there. It says proposed lawn. And that's in the 50 to 100. And assuming that right now it's not lawn, it is vegetated. And I wonder, I get the interest of the owner in having, all of these appurtenances and whatnot. And we do have an ordinance that says just, as long as you have an intact 0 to 50, you're good to go. But I guess I'm just wondering, is it necessary really to have that extra lawn put in where it says? Can't there be some conservation, some preservation of the 50 to the 100 instead of just taking it all? From a conservationist standpoint, it just sort of makes me go, That's my only comment. Other than that, I think I'd approve that project.
I understand the comment. I would point out, and maybe if I zoom out a little bit, this work is, we're not up against the bay here. We're 500 feet back and a road and a house between us and East Bay. We're not pushing the 50-foot buffer really in any of our areas. We've got a whole nother sort of peninsula down in here that's not developed and not pushing the lawn. This is a whole area where we were sort of allowing to remain natural.
So excuse me, then what is what it says proposed lawn? Where is this? What are we talking about exactly? How big is this new expanded new lawn?
I'll zoom back in. I think you can. And this was on the line that was on the plan you had, but just the lawn was really just going to this dotted and connecting back in. So in terms of what's in the 50 to 100 there, rough numbers.
That's pretty minor. Okay, my concern, I didn't get the dotted line thing. I was thinking.
So we had much of the work limit, making sure to cut off and head back into the site in that area. We were not going out into the peninsula.
So that big, what looks like a paragraph, split rail fence section, blah blah. That's still vegetated woods or what have you, right? No, so that in your text, that's still vegetated, right?
Yes.
Okay, then disregard my comment. I was thinking that you were basically gonna create a lawn all over the 50 to 100, but it's just a little. Oh, never mind. Then I'm good with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Angela?
Right, and when I looked at it, I thought the proposed lawn was where they're putting in now the equipment, so they wanted to be able to mow around the equipment, but nothing was going to be lawn extending out where that rail fence is, correct? When I looked at it, that's what I assumed. That's what you were saying?
No, nothing's heading out to where the old demarcation is. This dotted line, which should be on the plans you have, and we can make sure is highlighted in getting this revision into them. But this hasn't changed from what you had, and this was the proposed edge of lawn.
Right.
And the markers
lawn had 2 arrows, which I couldn't see on the map, but when I went out there, you were proposing towards the equipment proposal going.
Yes. So between the cabana and the garage, this.
West, you got it. Okay, Thank you.
Yeah.
So John, you may want to do a revised plan just to clearly defining that mode. The proposed lawn area, the edge of the lawn for that area, so there's no misunderstanding of that.
I'll change this. This arrow sort of got lost in the 100-foot buffer. I think that this side is, the 50-foot buffer is pretty clear, but on the other side, we'll kind of make sure it doesn't get lost in the 100-foot buffer.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question from the commissioner? And the wait, team, any public comment on this?
Was there some plan to build some sort of sports court or pickleball court of some sort?
Who's this?
The abutting neighbor from 390 Wiano.
What's your name?
Kuong. 390 Wiano.
Kim, did you get it? Kim, you unmute yourself.
No, could I get your name again, please?
Kuong 390 Wiano Avenue.
Thank you.
If you look at the drawing wise, I think on the west side there is a proposed sport court. I think, John, do you want to go there?
I'll bring it back up and I'll zoom out again so we can see that. So that, yes, there is a sports court.
The question is the matter of noise, because all people who have lived in various places, Florida and all the people that we know intimately, I'll say they're very noisy. And we have senior people in that property, in my property, 390, that they sleep late and have to sleep early on doctor's orders. And they cannot tolerate noise. Now, you're talking about a ping pong table is one thing, but this is a giant ping pong table, according to what my friends from Florida that have neighbors that had that kind of a pickleball, and that would be very bad for our whole family. And this is various families who we spend time there, and also would be disrupting to peace and quiet, and lack of sleep and all that, waking up people, because we still, some of the senior members of the family, they have to sleep late, like 11 o'clock in the morning, and go to bed early. And also during the day, it would be a very bad annoyance because we're so close to your property. And this is based on a lot of, in other words, comments I've had from other friends of ours who have had a very, very, very bad experience in Florida, in other states, and also in the Massachusetts area. So I would please beg that the owners or whoever is responsible consider that and in order to abstain from building such a noisy contraption, because this is the only place that where we rest, the only place we spend the summer and year around. It would be very distracting, very noisy, and so as much as I would like to be collaborative, I think this would be a very disruptive, and we'd rather not have it. Please. And I'm sure there are many other neighbors, they may not be aware of it, have the same feelings. I talked to a couple of neighbors that are to the right or left of the property that we're talking about. Okay, so bottom line, no pickleball court. You want to put 10 ping pong tables, small ones, the little balls, they don't make that make noise. The issue with us is noise and annoyance throughout the day.
Yeah, like a putting green is quiet. Even a tennis court is much quieter because that's a much softer noise.
Even a tennis court is not as noisy.
Or a golf putting green.
Okay, thank you.
Many of my granddaughters play tennis, believe me. And the noise of tennis is not nearly as bad as what I was told about this situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for listening.
So John, you take a look at that with your client as far as, whether that sport court should be there or not, because you need to deal with this about a concern
I agree. This is a neighbor concern, really not a conservation concern. We will make sure that the applicant is aware, and that's all I think we could do at this point.
Yeah, you need to deal with the abutter in terms of that location of the sport court, but that's between you and the abutter stuff. But from the conservation standpoint, I think this is good, but you can submit a revised plan if you need to redo the sport court locations. Any other question from the public? Channel 18?
We have Anthony Giovanni. I apologize if I said that wrong.
Giovanni.
You said it perfectly.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. What is your address?
Okay, 362 Weano Avenue.
360. You got it, Kim?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I support my neighbor to do what he wants to do with his property. However, I'm against the proposed location of the sports court. I'm concerned about the sports court's location and its proximity to the wetlands and runoff that could result from its impervious surface, that if a pickleball court, for example, was built, that would drain into the salt marsh. That's basically my concern. And it would appear to me, and looking on the map, that there are plenty other places on the property where a sports court could be built. And I've had this conversation with Mr. Levy. He and I had some very friendly conversations, and I just think I had to just state my case tonight, and I appreciate all the conversations I've had already with Mr. Levy about this.
Okay, thank you. Any other one, Channel 18?
Yep, we have Matthew Pidge. Matthew, did you still want to make a comment?
Matthew Page, unmute yourself if you want to speak.
No comment, thank you.
All right, that's all we have for public comment at this time.
Okay. So John, I think you need to talk to your clients in terms of the sport court locations. And the other thing that, you should take a look is the, I think basically I think as far as the other swimming pool and all that stuff, that's fine. The location of your fence as you propose on the drawing. What is the revision date?
10:30.
10:30. Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revision date of October the 30th?
So moved.
Anyone second?
Excuse me, Tom, I thought we were going to have a revision to have the lawn.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry.
I will adjust the note to move that arrow out of the
subject
from underneath the buffer. So
revised plan showing the edge of the lawn area.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck,
you.
John. The next is the Putnam Property LLC to construct a balconies, 2 patio area, and a flagpole at 20 Scallop Path, Osterville, as shown on the Census Map 070, Parcel 010-002. This is a continuance from October the 17th, just waiting for the DEP number. And we have received the DEP number, SE3-6135. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing and authorize the staff to issue the order conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank
We
you.
have two easy certificates of compliance. Susan Conley, SE3-5894, and John W. Callahan, trustee. Mary Alice Callahan, revocable trust, SE3-5898. Could I have a motion to approve the two easy.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself on the Callahan matter. I'm in a butter.
Okay, let me do, maybe I should separate it out.
Separate them, yeah.
Yeah, the first one is Susan Connie, SE 3-5894. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The second one is John W. Callahan, trustee Mary Alice Callahan, revocable trust SE 3-5898. And then Luis is recusing herself from this one. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Our next meeting is 3 o'clock on November the 7th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
That's unanimous. We're adjourned at 7:49, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Darcy. Thank
And
you,
my
Sarah.
pen just ran out of ink, so it's a good time to call.